friends, this is a Denon. It's a DP-47f, and this thing is pretty awesome. I love it. This is, I don't know, maybe this is the third one of these I've had. They all kind of look the same, the DP series. They're not the same, and arguably they don't look the same either. It's just after years, you know, they all start to blend together. Anyways, this one had a really nice DL160 cartridge in it, and this cartridge is in pretty good condition outside of the fact that it needs retipped, and retipping costs about as much as one that's, well, got a good tip on it. I don't know. If you retip it, you know you've got a good tip for a while. So reneedle, re-stylus, re-tip, reneedling, whatever they call it. They call it something, don't they? Hey, put it in the comments. What do they call that? Anyways, so I have on this a generic Auto-Technica stylus and cartridge. And despite that, it still sounds pretty decent. There is no magical magicness going on. So this cartridge is not being compensated for. I do have loudness on, so upper lower band is getting emphasized a little bit more. So and then let's see here, I have my bass and treble and neutral, so it does pretty good. It still does pretty good. I would say that this deserves a really good stylus. I did, when I was using this in my listening area, because I use these for a couple of weeks before I make a video or do anything, like list them on eBay. Anyways, so I had a Grace F9 with an E cartridge, or okay, so it's a Grace F9 cartridge with an E stylus, and oh my god, it was to die for good. Okay, so what this has is a power button. Bingo, right? Great, good. Has 33 and 45 setting. It does have a lock on it, quartz, and we'll go into that here in just a second. The locate button just moves the stylus. Okay, well, now it's not wanting to move, but it did want to move earlier. There we go. Let's see here. Come on, buddy. All right. So this is like one of the things I'm going to talk about on the video here is this, this player's behavior. It's in the naughty corner. It's got the lift up, down. It's got a repeat, which repeats the entire record, cycles through the record twice. Start and stop button. So the maintenance that needed done on this was it had a clank when you would raise and lower it, like physically. Turns out that the transformers grommets had turned into solid plastic and had broken, so they were just kind of tumbling around in there, and the transformer itself had come loose and was actually just setting in there. Still tied down, luckily enough. It was just kind of jostling around where it was setting. So I put some vinyl grommet in there. So that's all taken care of. There's really not anything to lubricate in this due to the way it's assembled anyway. So direct drive. So you would actually have to disassemble and take the drive motor out and remove the top to get new lubricant in there. The way it's running right now is perfectly fine. It does not need any new lubricant there. The Tonearm is sitting on ball bearings, and those have new synthetic lube on them. The cool feature over here on the Tonearm is that the stylus force, so the down force on the stylus, isn't actually set by the weight. What you do is you have it in the powered off position, and you get the Tonearm to balance. So it's like, well, you get it to balance at 0. Okay, so you got it balanced, right? And so when you'll watch as I turn it on. I'm going to turn it up to 2. When I power it on, it's going to want to go, well, now it's not, but it will go down and put its own downforce on it. There you go. So if I power it off right now, it'll just go right back to float. So the downforce and the anti-skate are set the same as it should be. So that's a really cool little feature on this. The adjustment for the start-stop on the record itself is this little hole right here, and there's a little bit of a secret in getting to that. First off, you do have to have a really long, thin screwdriver, flathead, and you bring this to the 33 start position, and you just kind of lightly rotate in here until you find it, and bingo. So there it is. You can see I've got it. And what you'll do from there is you'll rotate it just a little, maybe maybe 15 degrees at a time until you get it to sit down. It is not overly sensitive, so 15 degrees is probably only about a millimeter, maybe a little bit more. Put in the comments if you know any different. That's kind of what I was finding. It has, let's take the record off here. It does have sensors in here to determine whether or not it's playing 45 or 33. I've tried 45 a couple of times, and I'm not adamant about 45 working because this was, we've already got a couple hours into it, and I'm probably going to sell this pretty dirt cheap, just because it's missing its cover as well. So it was getting finicky. If you go to manual play, it'll play just fine, but that's 45's situation. And then if you take the plate off, the plate itself is pretty heavy. Let me weigh it here. Yeah, it's running 2.3 or 2 pounds 3 ounces. I'm sorry. So if you look on the bottom side here, it has it's basically magnetic, how it keeps its time. So I did clean out the sensors right here. Maybe not well enough. I don't know. Kind of at a spot where it works on the 33s and it's consistent. So that's what I play, and that's what most people play. So 45s are awesome and all. You can find some really good 45s. But here, let's listen to some Spinorama here. Turn it on, hit the start, and she'll go. Now there is a Tonearm lift control back here. See, we played with it, and that's what happens when we play with things. There's a Tonearm lift control back here that gives a little bit of resistance. I don't know if you can actually see that on the camera here, but it limits how high it can raise it, and then when it moves it, it's actually skating against that. And so it's almost like a little delicate dance between getting just enough resistance on here. So we're gonna roll it back just a tad. And here, I'll actually take the camera up here and show you. So these are the holes that we're talking about. So this is the lift control. You'll see that on here, when I lift it, it bounces against the base. And when it's there, it's providing a little bit of resistance, which this motor that is moving the Tonearm does not have a lot of torque. So if it starts meeting a lot of resistance, it's just not going to, it's just going to do this kind of la 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 thing. So I did put a little bit of silicone oil on here, but then I turned around and cleaned it. So it's probably been cleaned off, and probably just need to add a little bit more. That or loosen it up and just let it have a little bit more space to breathe. So there's that. Let's see here. And then, so there's a little bit of a delicate dance between the resistance that this is offering and the drop position, which both of these are mechanical, so they can kind of work against each other. You probably only minutely, but enough to cause issues. All right, so drop position, everything's really good. Now that we loosen that up a little bit, it dropped it perfectly. So a couple of other adjustments on this turntable that I want to put on the video here is, come on buddy. You ever cut your finger on the edge of one of these? I have, and it's as bloody painful as a cardboard cut. So there are adjustments here, and these are potentiometers. So this is mechanical. So if you read the forums and somebody says, no, it's a mechanical, and another person is saying, no, it's a potentiometer, they're both right. These are potentiometers down here, and this is a mechanical lobe. And so this is for adjusting the drop point. This is for adjusting how high the motor can take the tone arm. And these are the motor controls, so servos, if you will. But they're, when I looked at them, they looked like motors to me. But anyway, so these are they regulate the voltage that's allowed to go. So what will happen is you'll have a tone arm behavior where it'll come over and it'll hang, and then it'll slowly let down but move backwards. Okay, those are voltage issues. Or if you have it just set here and hold and it won't drop, that's a voltage issue. So if you just move these potentiometers just a little, just a hair, and again, you're gonna need a really small little screwdriver, you'll eventually dial it in. Now, I have read some forums where, here's the potentiometer holes. They're labeled VR 3, 4, and 5. And you can see the maintenance manual for what those are. Anyway, so I did see some posts about people having to recap these, also having to replace these potentiometers because they become kind of fragile over time. That will be probably in some extreme cases where, you know, the capacitors in this one looked just fine. I gave it an inspection and nothing is bulged. Everything looks good. There's no, you know, burn spot. Nothing's, you know, indicative of any trouble. And these potentiometers work because I had to adjust them and move them a little bit. But, you know, when I'm in there and I'm playing with them, I roll back and forth a little bit to get a good contact, because those potentiometers will get kind of staticky, just like these old receivers. Like this volume button, when I first got this thing hadn't been used for 20, 30 years. And the first time I moved this, it would make sound here, and it would stop making sound, make sound, stop making sound, make sound. The same behavior you're going to see in this. So if you buy one of these as parts repair, just don't, if you're afraid of a soldering iron, don't get a parts repair, because these are not like your typical like dual or gosh, even some of your modern like Sonys and Auto-Technicas, where all of the movement is mechanical. This is all electrical circuitry that does all of that. But it is a really, really nice player. I like these. This one has been playing for, I don't know, I want to say over 2 weeks, but it may have been just 2. And I probably ran a couple dozen records through it, and it behaved great. There were a couple of times that, you know, as I'm wearing it back in, that these things need adjusted, and the resistors need adjusted a little bit to dial it in. So I would say if you're going to own one of these, you better become familiar or know somebody who's familiar with how to dial in these potentiometers, as well as your drop point and your resistance back here. Outside of that, pretty good. I think, you know, a well dialed in one with recent maintenance can probably last you quite some time. You got to turn the power on. So again, this one is in what I would consider there. See that? Got a little, it gets hung up back here. I would consider in fairly decent, oh god, we got this way up, okay, fairly decent shape. It does have some like corner dinks, no big scratches or anything that's like, you know, offensive, if you will. So hope you like the video. If you're at all interested in the DP series, do some more research. Make sure this is the turntable for you. This is definitely not like a beginner's turntable, or, you know, a casual hobbyist, because you're going to want to use something like this rather frequently to keep it warm, don't put it on the bench. And when I sell this one, I'm just going to throw this cartridge in there with it and leave that one on, of course. But like, follow, have a good day.